Welcome to the Crooked Spine Show podcast with Davis Brimberg. We're going to basically figure out how our mind and body works together to either work well or not well. When we start to feel in control of our life and good about ourselves, does something always go wrong or get in the way? There's a sense of self-sabotage sometimes, or just that wrong people are in your actual life. This book, The Shadow and Love, give you a way to understand why this happens. Then you can use these strategies in the book to stop your shadow from robbing you of your happiness and health of your life. Dr. David Brimberg explains this book where your shadow comes from, how we can reconcile with it, and then be free to live the life we deserve, each of us, right? That's the plan, Ms. Davis. How are you?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here.
Of course.
It's
Of
yeah.
course. And explain to start your credentials. You've done a lot of schooling, which is phenomenal. You've earned this position for one too. And did any education you've gone through help in teaching too? Also, as a teacher, a reason why you wrote *The Shadow and Love*, the book.
Well, I am a psychologist, and I certainly have read a lot of Jung throughout my life and throughout my work. But really, what tipped this off, I looked at the readership of what is out there,
Okay.
and there are some wonderful books on the shadow. And what I saw was there was almost nothing out there. It was kind of astounding to me how there was almost nothing out there that really exclusively focused on the shadow's impact on romance, the shadow's impact on love. And I thought, well, that's kind of odd. A big part of why people come to see a psychologist is because they have some problem that's come up around their life in dealing with love.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And your education itself too, was it just undergraduate, or did it also include graduate school, or what did you get through? And also your teaching, where do you teach also, or how'd that work out?
Yes. So I have a BA in psychology.
Okay.
I actually started in the dance department at NYU and in the Tisch School for the Arts. And then I became a psychology major. And of course, I learned about Jung and Freud and all sorts of other phenomenal theorists. And then I did a master's in psychology. And then I did a PhD in psychology. And I've been working with clients now for over 20 years.
And did teaching also help you understand why we need a resource like your book to help you guide you through everything?
Yes. So in my experience teaching, I have taught undergraduates, graduate students, and even medical students. And I loved it. I absolutely loved my time teaching. It was in total, it was 14 years, and I miss it in so many ways. But the shadow is something that is not discussed in school in great depth. It is something that I decided to study on my own.
Okay. And why is that?
The shadow is working on one's shadow is one of the most empowering and wonderful things a person can do, because the shadow holds our darkness. This is Jung's theory of human darkness. And he said the shadow is created by shame. Okay. And it is our negative qualities that we have been shamed for, our negative experiences, our traumas go into our shadow. But then there are also positive qualities about ourselves that we have been shamed for. Somebody says, oh, you're too sensitive, or, oh, you're too competitive. There's nothing wrong with being sensitive, and there's nothing wrong with being competitive. But if you grow up in a household where competition is experienced as a bad thing, then you're being bad, and you should be shamed for that. But if you go about the process of examining your shadow, looking at all of the negative pieces and the parts about yourself that are positive qualities that you've somehow been shamed for along the way, when you're able to look at everything that has brought you shame and pain and misery in your life and deal with it. It's one of the most empowering and liberating things you can do. It's a phenomenal experience to go about examining what exactly is in your shadow.
And when someone does that, it's almost like you're saying it's something you've freed yourself from those chains, if you want to call it that have held you back in your overall life.
Yes. It's what makes it so beautiful, right? Because when you're able to deal with what I've come to call the shame and misery bank,
Wow, so
we all
positive. So
we all have it, right? I mean, we all
yeah,
have
of course,
it.
of course.
And so if you're able to examine that and deal with that and come to terms with all of those various pieces, you see that there's really nothing there that you can't deal with. And you become more self-loving, more self-compassionate, more self-forgiving. And in that process, you become more loving towards other people, and you become more joyful because you've dealt with all of this. So shadow work happens in an intensive way, but it's a lifelong process. If you go about the process of understanding yourself and all the stuff that you've been buried, that you have been burying, it's a lifelong experience that is liberating. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing.
You almost take control of your life that way too, where nothing's really going to hurt you because you've dealt with everything.
Exactly. Yes.
Phenomenal.
And you come to understand, from Jung's perspective, the big part of what makes the shadow so destructive is projection. A person takes whatever their misery is and they project it onto someone else. They say, that's not me, that's you. You have that. I don't have that.
You're the problem. Yeah.
You're the problem, not me.
Never me.
So if you can examine your shadow and understand what's me and what isn't me, when somebody is projecting onto you, you can be like, well, sorry.
Yeah.
I've looked at all the information, and that is not on me. That part is on you.
Yeah.
And it's also liberating in that way as well.
And part of your title too, The Healing Guide to Carl Jung's Theory Shadow Work. What is Carl Jung? And you may explain part of it too. Carl Jung's theory of the human shadow, and you give examples for the individual versus the collective. How does that separate it?
Yes. So Jung divided the unconscious into two major categories. He says that we have a personal unconscious, which is our personal history, our memories, our traumas, our misery that is specific to us.
Okay.
And then we have a collective shadow that we share with all of humanity. And it's not just everybody all throughout the world, but it's everybody who has ever lived. It's all of mankind. And he says that we have many different parts of the collective unconscious. One of those parts is the shadow. So we have a personal shadow, and then we have a collective shadow. And if you heal your personal shadow, you are unlikely to project your misery onto other people. And in that process, you wind up healing the collective shadow as well.
Okay. It's all connected.
It's all connected. And so for him, this is where he says that we have a moral responsibility to deal with our shadow. And this is what he's referring to, that if we're able to examine ourselves and deal with whatever our garbage is, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
That we can treat other people in a kinder way. And he felt that, wars, genocide, racism, prejudice, he felt that all of that was a reflection of the collective shadow that has been unhealed.
And it takes each person dealing with their own shadow to make that collective a better moral standard, if you want to call it that.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. The more that somebody understands who they are, the less likely they are to go on social media and spew venom You know, it's if we want to understand the collective shadow, all you
Yeah.
need to do is go on social media, right? I mean, social media is it's a mixed bag. In many ways, it's a wonderful thing, right? You have people reconnecting with their childhood friends, and is a lot of beautiful stuff happening. But social media is also a cesspool of unhealed garbage from people, right? And if you want to see how much of it is out there, go to see a celebrity's Instagram, look at their posts, pick somebody who's got millions of followers and thousands of people posting on whatever the celebrity posts.
Yeah. So not me, for example. Don't go to me. Got it. There's someone else.
And you'll see how much hatred is out there, how much jealousy is out there, how much these people are projecting their pain or whatever it is that they haven't accomplished, whatever it is that they haven't done in their life, that they're projecting it onto the celebrity, whoever that person is.
Or anything, right? It's almost there's always a problem out there that someone never really wants a solution to. They just want to continue to spew the problem. Like, well, what's the solution, or what are we doing?
Right.
So, yeah.
It's the shadow, right? It's and it very often comes out in passive aggressive ways. You know, in my book, I talk about an Olympic athlete who's won a gold medal for her country, and somebody on social media is criticizing her hair. I mean, this is just terrible, and it's oblique and it's passive aggressive, which is typical of shadow reactivity. Is in general, but specifically on a forum like social media, you see that that reactivity in that way.
And in your book, and going to chapter 2, the shadow, what do people put in their shadow and how do they come out of the shadow? How do you explain that chapter?
Sure. In terms of what we
chapter we know what the shadow is now. How do we get to that second stage, I guess? Sorry.
In terms of what we put into our shadow, that's all the shame. Yep. That is all of our pieces about ourselves that we want to deny, distort, pretend never happened, project onto somebody else. That's what's going into the shadow, right? That is what's building the shadow. In terms of what comes out of the shadow, that is the projection. That's where you see the reactivity and the projection going on there.
It's almost like, and almost, can you reverse it once you see the projection? You can see what is actually in their shadow on the inside.
Yes. A person, for example, who says horrible things on social media, like this person, with their very oblique negative comment about the Olympic athlete's hair, for God's sakes.
Really, yeah.
It's, this is not the Olympics of hair.
What?
It's not what's going on. It's very telling about what's going on with that person, right? If you can't just feel the joy that this person has spent thousands upon thousands of hours in a gym working on themselves, working on developing whatever their craft is, to go and function at an elite level, like compete in the Olympics. If you can't take joy in seeing that, it says a lot about that person. And it speaks volumes about their sense of their lack of accomplishment in their life.
I mean, the Olympic athlete hasn't had a donut in 10 years. How do you not have donuts in 10 years? I don't get it. They sacrificed their diet, everything. They have chili cheese fries nowhere, nothing. It's almost like, why not just celebrate their result? But I don't know. It's almost like, if you look at someone, and just go back to it too, someone's post after the post, you're like, that person has, in my sense, that person has a problem with themselves, not the people they're posting to.
Exactly.
Commenting to. They're like I said, the projection of what their shadow is and what their underlying hurts might be.
That's right. It's very revealing. You get to see who they are psychologically. An emotionally stable, happy person wants to see other people succeed. They're happy about it.
I give thumbs up and claps. That's what I do. Emojis, claps, and thumbs up. That's what I do all day long.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Another example of a very healed person in this case is that they don't post anything at all. Maybe they have some sort of feeling, some sort of issue about whatever it is that they see, and they're aware of that, and they go, yeah, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
That is a very self-aware person.
Is humility I want to say, a good or bad trait based on the shadow?
Humility is,
Okay.
it's a wonderful thing. Okay. However, there are some people who are extraordinarily accomplished who spend a lot of time telling you, yeah, that happened, that wasn't so great, or this happened, that wasn't so great. I mean, you meet people who, when they're given some sort of super high compliment, have great difficulty just saying thank you, and just, and owning whatever that thing is. So I think if a person is having great difficulty just being able to say thank you in a situation like that, that's also very telling too.
Yeah. It's almost like it can be taken both ways, I guess. Depends on what's going on. It's almost like you want to make sure in context what's going on with that person too. So going back to where one shadow can hurt them or someone else, is it a good thing to eliminate their shadow then?
The shadow can't be eliminated. So some people have talked about the shadow being eliminated or even being eradicated from society. I don't agree with this. The shadow is what holds our dark feelings, our difficult feelings about ourselves. It holds our difficult experiences. To wipe out one's shadow is to wipe away all of those painful experiences, which to me would be very sad, because this is a part of what makes us who we are, is the fact that we have had those experiences on top of other experiences. And so if we wipe out our shadow, we wipe out our humanness as well. And yet the idea is to heal the shadow, to look at it, to heal it, to help it surrender, to help it be calmed so that it doesn't harm anybody, so that we're able to learn from it and to accept it and to integrate it as part of who we are in a way that doesn't harm anybody ever.
It's almost, you can recognize your shadow when it's being projected. You can go, oh, hold on a second. Let me reset. Let me figure out what triggered that and how to get that out of there again. But to erase someone's life, they're part of their life, that's not really helpful, because you're almost just saying it never happened.
It's like saying it never happened, which is a terribly sad thing, right? Somebody may think, I wish that trauma never existed. And I can understand that. I absolutely can understand that. And yet, if it didn't happen, how much would that change that person's personality, right? We are an accumulation of all of our experiences, positive, negative, neutral. Once you start eliminating certain things, you start changing who we are fundamentally as people. So
like you said, when you say something, wish something never happened, it happened no matter what. You can't go back in time, and I don't have DeLorean yet from Back to the Future, so I can go back in time and erase that or change that. But again, that set your life up as a different direction. If it was there, then what else might have gone wrong somewhere else? What other crossroad might you have hit that crossroad may have helped build your character, or somehow some way to guide you where you are now?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's almost like it's a good to, like I said, reconcile with it too. In chapter 4, you mentioned explain what is the guidelines, how to use your book, and the need to monitor their own emotional and physical reaction. Explain how that works.
Well, my book invites people to look at their shadow and to look at the shadow of their partner or their past romantic partners. And this is something that can stir up some anxiety, right? I mean, our shadows are repressed for good reason, right? Their shadow is repressed because it makes us uncomfortable, unhappy, upset, whatever. But if you're able to sort of gently start to look at the shadow, which is what my book does, you're gently able to get introduced to it all. And sometimes that may stir up some anxiety. And so in my book, I give people some guidance as to how to help calm their anxiety. And that's what chapter 4 is about.
And you've gone through some of this before too. Explain how someone finds their shadow and how they kind of go down that rabbit hole, either with a therapist like yourself or on their
Mhm.
own. How
Mhm.
would that work with them?
So, one thing in the book is I take the reader through different ways of understanding the shadow by breaking up experiences into different categories.
Okay.
And I have them look into different aspects of their life, whatever happened when they were in school, whatever happened when they were in their family, what were the experiences around marriage that they observed growing up in their parents, what were their relationships like with their sibling. My book, of course, looks at the shadow and love, so we're examining the shadow in the context of how it comes up in romance. So I take the reader through that, and looking at dreams, the shadow very often will present itself in dreams. And it will typically show up as a figure of the same sex. And it will act out certain animalistic, dark behaviors.
Got it. Okay. And then how do you, as a therapist, how do you help someone deal with that shadow, reconcile with it, and then and live a, I'll call it, healthier life, a more balanced, more happier life?
Well, you go through it slowly.
Okay. Okay.
You don't want to overwhelm the person. We're talking about difficult, painful, shameful experiences that have been unconsciously buried in the shadow. So you don't want to go through it too fast, and you go through it at a speed that feels okay for the client. And you go along slowly, looking at the different pieces and looking at how the shadow has specifically presented itself in love. Very often, shadow behaviors in relationships involve a lot of the time, they involve things like lying, cheating, gaslighting, passive aggressiveness, biting sarcasm. That is a big one.
Mhm. That makes sense. That makes sense. It's almost like you're helping get through that so they can see that in their own selves. And okay, now when that triggers it, what am I doing that because of my shadow? How do you progress someone out of that to retrain their mind and their unconscious, I guess, their ability to not project that? How do you train them that way?
Well, there's a natural thing that happens once you go through the process of examining the shadow and doing it in a very supportive way with someone who, like myself, who's a psychologist. Once you go through it in a very supportive way and go through it at a pace that feels okay for the client, they're naturally going to come to a point where they let go a lot of the shadowy behaviors, feelings, and actions. It is a natural process that starts to unfold. They start to do things differently.
Do you almost see it as, now I know it's wrong. I don't want to do wrong or bad. Let me stop
Mhm.
that behavior now that I know
Mhm.
where it's coming from.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. And people have this idea. Let's say cheating, for example.
Yeah.
We tend to have this idea that whomever it was that cheated on us, treated us poorly, that they're sort of happy-go-lucky out there in the world. And really, I cannot tell you how many people have confessed to me about their lying and their cheating, and about how horrible they feel about it, how much shame they feel about it, and shame that they've felt about it for years. I mean, I have had clients who have held on to this for decades, and it's just hanging on them. and they feel so torn up inside about what they did. It's the idea that the cheater feels fine is not always true. Yes, I'm seeing a skewed sample. I'm seeing people who are coming to help, coming to psychotherapy for help, right? But the interesting thing too is a lot of people, they'll come to see me for other reasons, and then we'll be working together, and then they'll reveal that they cheated on their partner a while ago, and they'll tell me how much shame they feel about it. It'll come out in another way.
You're almost like you're able to dig through some of the superficial things, if you want to call it that, to go, and I'll go, what else happened? Why are you feeling this? What that time of year or years, whatever it was, what was going on? Like, oh, by the way, I did have this blah, and almost like it kind of go down the rabbit hole of why they're so upset with their spouse or so insecure here, or what's going on. Yeah.
Yes. And what I've also learned is that whenever you hear somebody describe something shameful, I hear a portion of that story. So if somebody says to me, I cheated on my wife for 6 months, my first thought is that was at least 9 months to a year. I've just come to believe that whatever number is around some topic of shame that a person is, quote, confessing about is a distorted number typically. Over time, the more that we work together, the more I learn what actually happened. From my perspective, it doesn't really matter if the affair was 6 months, a year, 2 years. All I'm focusing on is that this person is in extraordinary pain and they want to talk about it. They finally feel ready to talk about it. And we're going to look at it and talk about it and deal with it together. That's all I care about. I'm not investigating them. I'm not prosecuting them.
I know it's more than that. It's like, but almost like if they're not truthful with you, how can we be truthful with themselves?
Exactly. It's
almost like there's like, well, it's only 6, maybe longer. They're almost just trivializing it to where it didn't matter. It's not a big part of their life.
Yes, and yet it is. It's such a big part of their life that they are choosing to talk about it because some part of them wants to deal with it. And eventually, over time, they will tell me more. And maybe at the end, maybe I'll get the full story. Maybe I won't. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The exact information of exactly what happened is, I don't need to know it. Yeah. I'm not a lawyer prosecuting them.
No. It's almost getting enough to where they can recognize it, change their lifestyle and their habits so it doesn't affect them again in the future.
Exactly. It's about, and the other thing too that I've learned about, since we're talking about cheating, but the other thing that I've learned about that particular thing that comes out when you look at the shadow's impact on love is the more conflicted a person feels emotionally, the less likely they are to ever go about doing this ever again. A person who's in a puddle of tears talking about something that they did a decade ago, and how could they be so horrible? And here they are in so much emotional pain, carrying something they did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That person is very unlikely to go and repeat whatever the situation was.
And besides cheating, what are other common things people struggle with that the shadow's coming and projecting through?
So the shadow comes out in love so much because love makes us feel vulnerable.
Okay.
We become very, very vulnerable. And whenever a person is feeling vulnerable, they're more likely to have shadow reactivity. The shadow is feeling out of control. It feels vulnerable and uncomfortable. And so it'll react. And it's that vulnerability, the depth of the connection, while lovely and beautiful, can make a person feel so vulnerable that they can react if they don't love themselves. The more that somebody loves themselves, the more loving they will be to their partner, the less afraid and reactive they will be to being vulnerable.
So it's almost like if you love yourself first, if you reverse that in my head, at that point you're able to now love someone else as much as you love yourself.
Yes.
That's
You're able to do that. This part of you won't fight so hard against love because you truly believe that you deserve it.
There they are. Lunch break must be over there.
What? You can hear it. Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. It's almost like you get to the point to where, okay, if I'm good with myself, I understand my shadow, I understand my faults, what's going on with it. I love myself to a certain point. I've done the work. Then you can accept someone else in your life versus someone who hasn't. They're going from person to person, going, they're the problem. They're the problem. I'm not the problem. They're the problem.
That's right.
It seems like.
And very often when people are in search of a partner, they are looking for validation.
Okay.
There's a lot of that. It looks like they're looking to find love.
Okay.
But when you really dig into it and you really look at what is going on in terms of their motivation, what they are looking for unconsciously is validation.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
And then if they don't feel that validation, they drop that person and go on to somebody else who will give them validation.
And define validation for some people that don't understand what that is.
Oh, you're so beautiful. You're so sexy. You're so amazing. Yeah. I haven't stopped thinking about you all day since we just met, and that kind of stuff.
It's almost like just keep patting my ego, please.
Yes. Yeah. And what do you think of my hair?
Yeah, like, hey, come on. You mentioned my pedicure, my manicure today. What's going on?
Yes.
And going to in chapter 12, you mentioned top 10 ways to stop your shadow from destroying your life. What are the most common things you see with your clients or in general that are the top, say, 3 or 4, I guess?
Well, the first one I talk about that I think people have some issues with, which is to take 100% responsibility for your shadow.
Got it. Okay.
It's
good.
It's to really own it.
Mm-hmm.
And to say, this is who I am. This is what happened. This is what I'm dealing with. This is how I'm healing this. It is my responsibility to heal this. It's not it's not my partner's responsibility to heal me. It's my responsibility to do that, which is also a part of the next one, which is the wish to be rescued. That's another one that people have some issues with. It's look, I can't blame us for having that unconscious wish. It's in our songs, it's in our movies, it's in our fairy tales, it's in poetry, it's in art. It's there all over our society.
Yeah.
The desire to have somebody come in and rescue us.
Or if I play the lottery, I'll win $1 million. All my problems are fine.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't like the lottery scares me. There's too much anxiety involved to sit there and watch the numbers, come down the little ball, whatever it is. I don't know. It's almost like if you want someone to rescue you, why can't you do it yourself?
That's right. The thing about my book is really about empowerment. It's one of the major subtexts of the book, which is how to empower yourself, looking at your shadow, examining your shadow, examining the shadow of your partners, examining how you deal with love. I mean, this is a very empowering thing. And ultimately, one of the things that I talk about is the importance of really being your own rescuer, so that all of that beautiful self-work that you do doesn't go away if another person leaves us, right? That we have that with us for life. And that when we feel stronger and healthier and more emotionally stable, we can accomplish our dreams, whether that involves a romantic partner or not. We can accomplish our dreams.
It's almost giving someone the like you said, self-empowerment to really understand you control your own life.
Yes.
You do the work, you can do the work, and then you'll understand how to do that. Not depend on
That's
somebody
right.
else or something material, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So it's very, I like that portion or that big picture of empower yourself by doing the work so you know what's hurting you. At that point, you know how to control that or reconcile with that.
That's right. And you can do that and become a more devoted lover, become a more devoted partner in every respect, and treat your partner with much more kindness because you've done all of that work on yourself.
And you'll be honest with your partner, going, "Hey, this is what I expected. This is what I'm looking for in a relationship per se." At that point, it's almost like then you're transparent with what you need out of that person.
That's right. It's transparency. If our partner doesn't really see us, in my opinion, it's not love.
Yeah.
There are people who spend years together, even decades together, who will tell you that they don't really feel that their partner saw them, really heard them, really knew who they were. If your partner doesn't really know who you are, they don't love you. They love some idea of you. They love some need that you seem to sort of fill for them.
Yeah.
It's not love, in my opinion, involves truly seeing the other person.
Nice. It's almost like someone might be transactional. You fill this thing for me.
That's right.
You do this with me. It's almost you have the same interest, but love is that next step of I want to understand the whole person, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like the movie or something.
Isn't that a Clint Eastwood movie?
I think so. Yeah.
It's a great movie.
80s movie. I think it's one of the Big Gun or something. I'm not sure.
The good, the bad, and the ugly is it's a great movie.
Well, and then this is my side note, but just my head. You should start a dating site where people have gone through the shadow, make them more qualified, and then put them with people that are doing the shadow. Boom. I'm thinking 100% success rate, no divorces, no anything. I'm just saying.
It's a great idea. I love it.
I love it.
It would be a very non-dramatic site because the shadow loves drama. If there's no drama in a relationship, the shadow will create it. It will take an ordinary situation and it will twist it around and create drama. The person will start picking fights over nonsense. They'll start getting into it it's something absolutely absurd because of an unconscious need to create drama, an unconscious need to be destructive. The shadow is an agent of destruction. That's fundamentally what it is. That's what that darkness is. It's an unconscious agent of destruction towards other people that is almost always directed also towards oneself, right? Nice. To have somebody who truly loves us, for example, and then to not treat them to treat them poorly, right? To not treat them well is not just destructive to that person. It's incredibly destructive to oneself. So, the person who cries in my office talking about their partner who loved them a decade ago, who they cheated on, who they feel miserable about, right? This is a self-inflicted wound.
Nice.
The shadow is always self-inflicted in its wounds, in addition to being destructive to others.
And part of it being going back to the dating site, it almost makes life, I want to say, still emotionally satisfying without all the drama.
Yes.
Okay, we'll make sure it's page.
Life is beautifully satisfying without all the drama. Look, if you want drama, you can go on television and find some highly dramatic stuff.
Yeah.
It's
It's too much work, you know? It's almost like I have a lot of patients that have come in, and sometimes they're high school students or even a little bit older too. And when they're getting adjusted, they're very dramatic. Oh, that was a lot. Oh, I'm like, did you take drama in high school? Because I'm pretty sure you would have been a major, would have been successful in major in that. It's almost like some people just can they be dramatic without expressing their shadow?
exactly. I
Is
mean,
that
if you look into Picasso's paintings, right? If you
okay?
look into his cubism, you see how much he was expressing his shadow.
Okay.
It's his shadow is all over that canvas. The way he's splicing the body up into all of those different images and putting it together in some distorted way. I mean, it's absolute gorgeousness,
Mhm.
and it's a perfect example of somebody who's channeling their unconscious shadow within themselves and putting it into some very productive form in this absolutely extraordinary way.
You almost take someone's personality, all of it, good, bad, the ugly, and in one, like you said, Picasso's paintings make that obvious to the viewer.
Yes.
Nice,
Yes.
nice. And with your psychological practice as your service and treating clients, do you deal with a lot of people dealing with their shadow, or does that kind of come up in passing, or what is your focus with your practice as a psychologist?
I help people with whatever it is that they come to see me for. Some of it may or may not involve shadow work. It's a if that's what that person wants to do, I will happily do that. But whenever I work with anybody, I help them to see the unconscious factors that are in their life. I help them to understand what's happening beneath the surface.
Perfect.
And sometimes that may or may not involve shadow. It's the shadow being discussed specifically.
Yeah. So it's almost like you wrote the book to help people just for that portion versus I'm making this part of whatever I do all the time. It's almost like you almost like that's you like to do that.
Yes.
There's more passion for you.
I love people helping. I love helping people to
Yep.
understand what's going on with them unconsciously,
Nice.
because people, they can tell you, oh, I was sad about something, but they don't necessarily see why. And what I do, I'm a dot connector,
Good.
really, more than anything else. That's what I do. A person tells me the literal story of what happened, and I hear what happened underneath. I hear the unconscious factors, and I help them understand, well, this thing happened this way and this happened this way. Perhaps it's also because of this much deeper thing that was going on for you. They may be telling me a story about their boss and what happened at work, and it reminds me about something that they discussed about their mom, and
Kind of
I'm
clicks.
helping
Yep.
them to connect the dots to see the way that you reacted with your boss last week is reminiscent of what you discussed about what happened in your household growing up when you were a teenager with your mom. And then they
Nice.
go, oh my God, how did you see that?
You're really good. That's what they say. You're really good at what you do. Good job.
But it's, my field has been, there are many people throughout my field who have had just extraordinary things to say. And there's really only two people who I think were just total geniuses, and that is Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud.
Nice.
And their work on the unconscious has just been, it is phenomenal to see their ideas and to see how these things are expressed in people today.
It's those are theories that will go through any generation, any century, and still be valid because you can actually obviously see that in people now, help them
Mhm.
reconcile and empower themselves afterwards. So it happens generational. It's not
Yes.
just for the 30s, 50s, or 60s.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Going to getting things wrapped up right now. Anything I missed you want me to bring up or want to bring up?
Well, I guess we have to say how somebody can get the book. It is on Amazon, and it is on paperback as well as audiobook and Kindle.
And I put the link in the show notes for that also, along texting with you for Instagram and also your website. So
thank you.
And again, I was privileged to get the PDF of the book. I went through the whole book myself. I think it's phenomenal for anyone to look at themselves internally and go, can any of this help me with my life now and my future? And I think it's hard to rebuttal that. I think it's a great book for anyone to at least see and look at. And with Amazon too, you have, I think, 60 days return or whatever it is if you don't like it. So you have the option. But again, it's a good reference for anybody, especially the ways that people don't see their shadow destroying themselves, especially with drama. It's almost like you're able to now reconcile that and actually get your life back on track and not have that fear of the next relationship or the next person, or just yourselves and your own fears that may not be true. So
yeah.
Anything you want? What would be your takeaway, Dr. Davis, for my listeners to get the book and understand their shadow?
To not be afraid of looking at whatever is living inside the shadow, to examine it, because it's an act of self-love. To understand ourselves and what is going on for us unconsciously is an act of self-love. And it is something that will help us be more loving towards other people. And the beautiful thing is when you look inside the shadow, that's it. That is the bank that holds all of our fears and miseries and traumas and all of that. If you can deal with that, you can pretty much deal with anything about yourself.
It's almost like that's the end of the road. Deal with that. That point in your life going forward will be better. That seems like and I want to say not simple, but simple steps to take to live a better life down the line. So you're happy, healthy, and you enjoy life the rest of your days, maybe 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
What age would you usually deal with clients? What's your age group? What's your demographics?
Most people who come to see me are in their 30s, but I see people, right now, I would say I have people in their 20s all the way up through their 70s.
Perfect.
So it's a big spread.
Everyone wants help. It's almost like they trust you to help them no matter what's going on. Maybe something simple, trivial, or something that is more serious about their life, whatever it might be. All right. Well, good. Thank you. Thank you for being on my show. I appreciate it. Quick smile for the thumbnail. We're good. Anything else you want to add?
Thank you so much for having me here today and
for
chatting with me.
Enjoy all the construction back there. Hang out, audience. Give me 1 second. End the show. Have a good day, my friends.